hell is this? What are you doing?
Hi, everybody. If you're watching this when it's first coming out, it may be August. And if you're watching this 2 years later, it's probably not August anymore. So welcome to you in whatever month it is, whatever year it is.
If it's exactly 2 years later, it would still be August. But it would be August 2 years later.
I didn't say that, but yeah, whatever. So I'm Jolisa, and this is Sammer. And today we are going to be diving into real estate, homes, and very important factors that you should know when it comes to these type of things. First things first, we're going to be talking about something that everybody wants to know more about. That's home value. What should we know about our home value if we have one?
So, as any asset, the market value of your home is really determined based on supply and demand, right? So the market determines the value of your home at each moment in time based on those factors. So as a result, I think it's important for all of us as we dedicate August to be your home related month. Is first thing to do is to go on Zillow.com and Realtor.com and Redfin.com, any of those websites, and look up the value of your home as it's listed on their website. Obviously, they put an estimate. They use that, or they come up with those numbers based on comparable sales in the area. And if you record that once a year, I think after you collect that data for several years, it gives you some sort of an indication of how desirable your neighborhood is or how desirable your little town is, because it basically gives you an idea if you decided to sell 2 or 3 years later as to what kind of price to ask for and if you're in good market or not.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important for you to keep track of your home values over the year because, as you said, what your home is valued at shows how popular your neighborhood is and where it's potentially going in the future and whatever they're doing over there. So since we're on that topic of the property value, let's talk about the county property appraisals. How can homeowners ensure that their property is properly appraised?
Very good point, Jolisa. So as you all know, if you own a piece of property, then you typically pay real estate taxes on that property. And the way that real estate tax number is calculated is where the county would appraise or assess some sort of value to your property. And then they typically have some sort of a percentage that they apply to that formula and then come up with a dollar amount that you are assessed as real estate taxes. So it is very easy and very important for you to once a year go on your auditor's, your county auditor's website and search for your property based on your address. And you can look up and see what the county has your property valued at or appraised at. And then I would compare it to similar homes either in your neighborhood or in nearby neighborhoods and see if their county is remaining consistent in the way they appraise your property. Because if they're not, let's say you feel that yours is over appraised, which means they're assessing you higher amount of taxes than others with similar type of homes, then typically the county would have some sort of an appeal process where you can appeal that assessed value or that appraisal and show them the comparables that you found and potentially lower the tax bill that you received or you're about to receive.
I think that's really interesting to know because I don't think many people know that, one, they could dispute that and the fact that their taxes are based off of their property value. So the fact of knowing those two things and where to find that is good. So now we were looking at the current information about the home, but what about the history of the property? Seeing if there's any maybe liens on the property, anything like that. How would you go about that?
Sure. So, we're in the age of the internet and things are much, much easier today to deal with than they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. One of the things that you can do, and I think it's one of the things that you should do, is again, once a year as you're playing detective on your computer, go to your county recorder's website. And again, you search for your property by address or by your last name. And this will give you the history of that specific property. So if you built the property, if it was new to you, then it will show the history starting from when it was built. If you bought that property along the way, then it will go back and show you the history from the time it was built. And ideally, is you want to confirm the data that's listed there. So, for example, if you paid off your mortgage, you want to make sure that it shows that that mortgage has been released on there on the recorder. Otherwise, you want to make sure you follow up with the recorder's office. Also, if somebody, maybe a handyman or whatever, did some work and there's a dispute about the money between you two, maybe somebody placed a lien on your property and you just don't know it. So that's the place where you can look at the history of the transactions on that property and confirm that it's clean.
Yeah, I worked for the housing court for quite some time, so I know the recorder's office could be home to a lot of different information. Can you tell people what are some other things that they could use that office for?
Yeah, you're very right. I mean, there's a ton of information specifically about the property that is available to you between the auditor's website and your recorder's website. One of the things that you can do, for example, and I would do that at least once when you own the house, is to order a plot or a map of the plot that you live on, because it would tell you exactly what the dimensions are and how the county has it. I think it's important to have that because it will come in very handy in case there's a pop-up dispute between you and the city, or maybe between you and your neighbor. I mean, we all know, or maybe we've had instances where your neighbor is decided to build a fence, and maybe you think that the fence is on your property and not theirs. The map would be a very quick way to confirm the dimensions. If the city is doing the same thing and trying to say that you're doing something on your neighbor's yard, you can always pull up the plot map and confirm the accuracy of the distances. So that's, everybody should have a copy of that in case you need it.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have that little map handy, especially if someone's building something potentially on your property, because you could just pull out the map, say, hey, why are you building this on my property? And then just tear it off yourself, because you'll be okay if you do that right.
that might start a fight, but I would just ask them, hey, you miscalculated here.
I guess that's another way to do things. So transitioning a little bit in this home topic, let's talk about beneficiaries. In our last video, we talked about estate planning and how important it is to add beneficiaries to different things that your name is under. Why would it be beneficial to add a beneficiary to your home title?
Well, I mean, it's just like any other asset. Your home is typically, upon your passing, maybe awaiting the probate court to decide what should happen to the house, or who's going to become the executor of the total estate to make decisions. Where if you already named beneficiaries as part of the title on the house, then that would make the transition very, very easy. So again, in the days of the internet, most counties now allow you to add beneficiaries to your title simply by filling out a form online and potentially making a minimum payment via credit card. If your county does not allow you to do it online, a quick 15-minute visit to your county office, you just fill out a form by hand, you sign it, you add a beneficiary if it's your children or whomever it is, and you pay $20, $30 and you're done. And I think that is well worth it. You only do it once, so it's not like you have to do this every year, but it's well worth it to alleviate any potential hassles or headache for your beneficiaries upon your passing.
Yeah, I think more people need to understand the importance of adding a beneficiary to the home, because for some reason it's not really common, and there's a lot of people that have homes that have no beneficiaries at all. And if someone passes away, there's enough stuff to deal with. The last thing you want to worry about is if there is a beneficiary on the house or not.
Exactly, and it's typically called TOD, transfer on death. Some people may read it and say, "Who's Todd?" On my it's not a Todd; it's a transfer on death, TOD.
So once we have the TOD listed on the house, or the TOD, transfer on death, aka beneficiary, what are some other things that we can be doing to make sure that everything is organized in our house, whether it's putting lists together or being prepared for any type of unforeseen events?
I've always had this idea, and I think it's very underutilized, although some people are good about it. What I would do is, take an hour of your day, and one of your days, maybe on the weekend, and start a list of all your appliances in the house. So I would go from room to room and in the basement. So this would be any appliance or any machinery that works inside your house, including your air conditioner or your water heater and so on and so forth. And I would jot down the type of appliance or the type of machine it is, and maybe the serial number, maybe a brief description of what it is, when it was purchased, either exact date or estimate if you're not 100% certain. And I think that would come in very handy when it comes to maintenance on these types of machineries, as well as when it's time to replace one of them.
You have a lot of great ideas when it comes to putting your lifts together and all that type of stuff. And it kind of stresses me out because, like, I'm living in a house now. I should probably be doing this, and it's very overwhelming. Another good idea that you've mentioned before is going to your house and taking a video of all your home contents. Why is this important?
I would make this a regular practice, at least once a year. And now it's easy. You can do that with your phone. Just go around and you're filming all the content in your house, whether it's furniture, even in your closet. You would just film your clothes and all of that. Literally, absolutely everything, including your shoes and jewelry. This way, once a year, you know exactly, or you have a record of exactly what's inside your house. So God forbid if there's a problem, whether it's a fire or a flood or whatever, now you have an accurate record, an updated record of the contents inside your house. So you're not having to rely on your memory and say, oh, I didn't report this and I didn't report that. I think it's a very good practice, and it would take you literally under an hour once a year to do this, and it can come in very, very handy.
Yeah, I think it definitely can come in handy, especially when it comes to home insurance, because God forbid there's a fire or a flood or something like that. If you have a video, I feel that's a lot better than listing everything out, because you could actually see everything there, and it's hard for you to miss stuff if you take that video. So since we are on the topic of home insurance, why might premiums spike, and are there any things that you could do about that?
So you did notice it, huh? I mean, just about everybody's noticing how much more they're paying for their home insurance and auto insurance. Insurance premiums are just, out of sorts. And for example, the last time I got my bill when they renewed my policy, mine went up 120% year over year, which is absolutely crazy. So, they claim that, their cost has gone up because of all the storms and things that happened down in Florida, and now we're having to pay for it here. So funny thing is that most insurance companies offer their best and more competitive rates to new policyholders. They're trying to attract new customers. So they offer them deals. And unfortunately, they tend to forget about those that are current customers. So it's almost, your insurance company is almost telling you that you have to shop around once a year to keep getting the best price. So if I were you, what I would do is I would call your insurance person once a year and shop the policy around and see if you can, save some money by changing the company while maintaining the adequate coverage. Or it's, you can make the calls yourself if you don't use an insurance person, and just call, 2 or 3 different insurance companies and see if you can reduce the premiums. Because you have to advocate for yourself. Believe me, your insurance company is not going to cut you a good deal until you force them to.
So there's one more topic that I want to touch on before we wrap up the video, and that's updating the covered values on the home insurance. How often should homeowners do this?
I think you should do it once a year at the time of your policy renewal. A lot of times what happens is that when it's time for the renewal, it happens automatically, and you get the bill for the next year, and you pay it and you move on. But it's important to be in contact with your insurance company before that happens. And I would revisit the values of the property itself, as well as the contents of your property. Because guess what? Over the last year, or maybe 2 since you updated it, or 3, God knows how many years, you bought stuff. You may have bought some new furniture, you may have bought some artwork, new clothes, or whatever. So the value that needs to be insured may be higher than what the value that your current insurance company is actually insuring for. Just because you've added more assets inside the house, or maybe because also the house itself has appreciated in price, and you need to make sure that you have adequate replacement coverage for your house. So it's important to revisit those values, and even that by upping those values, that may push your premium a little bit higher. That's okay, because you can keep it down, but you're not going to get full coverage on the value of the house and its contents. So I would revisit that at least once a year before the renewal.
So that brings us to the end of this video. I think that Sammer covered a lot of good topics in this video of things that you should be doing in the month of August when it comes to your home. So I know there was a lot of information, so thankfully you could just rewind this video and see all of the important parts and knock those off your list this month. So thank you for watching and subscribe to see more videos from Sammer and I.
That's right. And if you have any questions on any of the contents that we covered, we're a phone call away.